Hello everyone, TarantulaDan here, and I'd like to thank you for taking the time to check out my channel and of course this video. So this video has been another hugely requested video by many of you. For those of you that watched my Spiders World video, which I'll put a link to that in the description, I had this container, I went out into the kind of the wilds, not far from where I live, into the woods, and caught an invert, and I caught this little spider that's just here in the corner. If I just turn it, you'll be able to see it a bit better. See it here by my finger, and yeah, I had it, and people have been asking me if it's still alive, what's going on with it, and if I can give you all an update and tell you what's going on with it. So I thought I would do that. So as well as giving you an update and telling you what's happened to it recently, I can also give you some information about this particular spider. So everything from habitat and the everything that you need to know about this spider, just in case you find one while you're out searching for spiders yourself. So yeah, this is the spider that I found. If I just very carefully, I will try and take the lid off. I think has it done a web? It has. It's actually done a web up in the very top corner. If I just adjust the camera slightly and turn it around, put it down there, you might be able to see a little bit better. So there you go, you can see a bit better there. And the main update with this, the egg sacs that are in there haven't hatched as of yet, but it did molt. There are actually little bits of the molt in the web just behind. I don't know whether you'll be able to see any of them or not. I'll get a close up of that in just a second. But yeah, it did molt in my care, and it's currently just kind of chilling up on top of the web. So I thought what I would try and do is just feed it, because I haven't fed it since it's molted. I know this is a wild spider. I won't be keeping this forever, but I'm sure it would probably appreciate a meal. So there's a cricket for it to hopefully take down. So yeah, it is a wonderful spider. I will not be keeping this long term. At the moment here in the UK, we are having a bit of a a winter, shall we say. It is very cold. We've had lots of snow and ice, and I don't think it would be good to release this back into the wild with it being as cold as it is. So I thought if I can keep it in here, and then in the spring I will be taking it back out and releasing it back into the wild in the spring. At least then it kind of has a chance to set up home again, and I can look after it until then. So yeah, that is how it's doing. It's molted, no egg sacs, and it's not actually eating either, which is a little bit of a shame, but it's not a problem. So now I'm going to tell you some information about it whilst looking at this spider. I will leave it just there, and it might move, it might not, but you can look at this spider while I give you some information about it. So there are two species of lace weaver or lace webbed spiders. There's the Amaurobius similis and the Amaurobius fenestralis, of which this is the latter. The two are very similar, but the similis they usually tend to be larger from what I've read, and they are the ones that occur more indoors, so in houses, in garages and things, whereas the fenestralis are the ones that tend to be out in woods and hiding on a bark and things. They are widespread throughout the UK, but are less common up north. Obviously here in the Midlands where I live, they are everywhere pretty much. So these are generally a little bit smaller than the false widow, which is the Setoda nobilis, of which, if you are in the UK, you would have seen these in the tabloids at some point, with some absolutely absurd fake story about them that they kind of conjure up to spread fear of spiders, but it is completely rubbish. So yeah, you've probably seen pictures of false widows in the UK tabloids and things. But yeah, they have a body size up to about 12 millimeters, and these are often mistaken for the false widow spider, and the reason for that is because they do look very similar in terms of the proportions, and the abdomens are also fairly large as well, at least in the females. With the legs and carapace also being the similar colours of the dark brown and glossy kind of finish. So although very similar, the legs of the lace web are actually shorter and thicker, whereas the abdomen is actually more elongated, which you can actually see here. The abdomen is kind of long and slender, whereas the abdomen of a standard, of a widow, shall we say, is kind of looks like a like a little round ball on the back of them. A good way to notice the difference is if you look at the abdomen, they have the markings of 3 V's on the back. I will put a picture up courtesy of Google, and that is the markings that the spiders have on the abdomen, so you can kind of tell them apart. So the lace web spiders are funnel webs. They are not associated with the infamous Australian funnel web spiders. It just means that they make webs with a flat web with a velcro-like texture which leads into the silken funnel in a crevice. Here the spider waits until the unfortunate invertebrate happens upon the web, at which point the spider darts out and sinks its fangs into the prey and obviously takes it down and eats it as a meal. So these are ambush predators. It's actually doing a bit of webbing by the looks of it. So there have been a few recorded cases of the laceweb spider biting humans. The bites were reported as painful, but the symptoms are basically localized swelling for around 12 hours, but nothing else really. The bite was relatively painless with the following swelling. The swelling after the bite, that was the kind of the painful part of the bite. So basically, I suppose very, very worst case, I would say like a very mild bee sting. It ain't going to kill you or cause you to swing like Spider-Man or anything like that. It'd be like a bit of a pinch, bit of swelling, bit of redness, but put some ice on it, and you should be good to go pretty much. It goes on to say that the lace-web spider exhibits some quite shocking behaviour. The female spider lays around 40 eggs in a protective silk breeding chamber. The mother remains with the eggs, protecting them until they hatch, at which point the mother's basically eaten by the babies, so the mother will be the first meal for her young, which is kind of a shame really, considering it's not really something that you want to happen. So going back to the differences between the Amaurobius similis and the Amaurobius fenestralis, I wanted to just sort of brush over very quickly the habitat of these. As I said, they can't really be reliably distinguished by the eye, because they do look very, very similar. However, they can be identified from the habitat. If in a garden or associated with houses, that is most likely a similis. However, if in woodland, it is likely to be a fenestralis. That is literally what naturespot.org.uk species Amaurobius fenestralis says for the kind of distinguishing between the two different species. The habitat, they are found under bark and stones, in crevices in masonry, and often around windows and sills, hence its name. These are predatory on many other invertebrates, including other spiders. Its web is characteristically very pale blue or grey or white, and the strands are fluffed by the spider to tangle the feet of its insect prey, as is said earlier, to do with it feeling like a velcro almost. The web usually forms an opening at the funnel, leading into the spider's retreat to the deepest part of the crevice. The spider can be attracted from its hair by holding a sounding or tuning fork against its web, presumably resembling the sound of a trapped insect. And so they're common and widespread in Britain, and there have been 5,115 British records on the species since 2015. So there's a lot of information kind of about them, very definitely worth reading. I'll put the 2 links to these in the description. The first one that I read from was falsewidowspider.org.uk, and the second one, as I just said, was naturespot.org.uk. Both of those will be in the description, so you can have a read at your leisure, I guess. So that has been a look at the Amaurobius fenestralis. Nothing too exciting, but for those of you that were curious to learn a bit more about this spider, I hope it has been okay for you. As I said, I'm keeping it until the spring, in which case it will be released back into the wild. The only thing I've just realised, when it was up on the web here, I assumed this was a female because of it being, I found it in the crevice by where these egg sacs are. However, it looks like it does have palps, so it might actually be a male. So, because the palps weren't there like that before, so I think it has matured. So, but either way, I'll still be keeping it till the spring anyway, and then releasing it back into the wild. So there you go. That is some information on this spider. I honestly did not know that much about this particular species before I started kind of doing bits of research on them, and I would like to cover more English spiders. So if you have enjoyed this video and would like me to do more coverage on British spiders and British wildlife, then please let me know in the comments below. So as always, thank you for watching my content, take care, and I'll see you soon in the next video.